Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are joined once again by our friend Jim Ramsey, who's also our Professional of the Year. He's the director of Aletheia Marriage Counseling and has served many years with mental health capacity, helping people as a family therapist. Again, he's licensed also for marriage therapy too, since 1974, although he doesn't look that old. I don't know how you do it because you have a real vast knowledge of relationships, of people. And I love how you step up above, because it's not traditional marriage counseling, right? You do a little of that, but it's all based on the Gottman Institute of why marriages succeed or fail. And he's done a lot of research himself, and I want to say he's an expert. So welcome back to the show, helping so many family, friends, people, couples. How are you today?
Doing pretty well. It's good to be back with you.
Oh, thank you. I know you've had a lot of experience under your belt in helping so many, even with retreats, helping those before divorce, after divorce, through divorce. But we want to keep our people together, and that's mostly, obviously, what we're trying to do here with Christian counseling and all that you offer. So first and foremost, give us a little more of your background, and I'm going to tell them to visit the website, aletheia.marriagecounseling.com. That's ALETHEIA, marriagecounseling.com. Go ahead.
You got it. That's right. I suppose a couple things I haven't really told you about is back in 2000, I had a one-year contract with the Air Force to do workshops in Air Force bases all across the country, and two of them outside the country. That was quite an experience. And basically at that time, I was working with the John Gray organization doing Mars-Venus workshops and also family workshop helping with kids and so forth. So I've done quite a number of things over the years, but the main thing is just helping people save their marriages.
Yes. Well, thank you for being here and being back joining us today. Let's start off by talking about some of the typically most important changes that couples need to make in order to keep their marriage healthy and loving.
Well, that answer is a little bit more extensive than it used to be, because there's so many factors that are working against a good marriage now. If you basically just kind of subscribe to where the culture is going and live like everybody else is living, odds are you're going to have marital problems. This is the fact.
Yeah.
Because people are so absorbed in their media all the time and in their work all the time and in all this activities. Their kids are supposed to be in all these camps. They can't even have dinner with you in the evening because they're all trying to be professional quarterbacks or basketball players. Our culture has become so intrusive. There's so many things that are taking time and demanding of people.
Wow.
Research shows that the average family doesn't spend more time in having dinner together than about 35%. And of those, I think it's only 17% that have dinner together without the TV on.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's just another example.
Yeah.
So I guess my answer would be, you have to kind of buck the culture. You need to find a way to have a simpler life. Make sure that making money, and a lot of it, isn't more important than having a good marriage.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a successful business person, you're going to also have to become successful at prioritizing your relationship and your family.
Yeah.
Make sure you're spending enough time. Otherwise, things just start going downhill. And you get more and more distressed and frustrated and angry, and they get lonely and emotional, and everything just gets worse and worse. So you got to spend time with your kids. You got to spend time with your spouse. You got to continue courting each other throughout your lifetime. You don't do that just to get married.
No.
You spend time sitting around looking at the views, sit on the back porch and watch the sunset, go for walks, after dinner, go out somewhere and take a little drive or whatever. But you have to keep that relationship primary, or you are in trouble sooner or later, because things build up. And the other thing is, you really got to learn how to understand the differences between you and your spouse. Men and women both care about each other, and they both have feelings, but they're manifested differently. You're on two wavelengths. It's very important that a man learns how to get on his wife's wavelength and really understand what's going on and how she's feeling and what she needs. and not try to fix her based on his way of doing things.
Yes. Oh,
You don't tell her
goodness.
what she should be doing or stop doing or try to fix it some way. You need to let her talk about all of her feelings, which oftentimes are a lot of them. And you need to be really curious and compassionate. If you don't, she's going to feel more and more like shutting down or being really emotional. And when she gets really emotional or shuts down, that really messes with the guy. He feels like I can't be successful as a husband. I'm trying to help her. She doesn't want my help. She's always reacting to me. She's always emotional. And so what he does is he becomes more angry, more quiet, more weird, So she's got to get on his wavelength and understand he's not a woman. And he's doing the best he can to help you. But if he's not helping you, you need to ask specifically for what you want with a smile and with an air of, I want your help. I love you. Not just like you're mad at him and would you please do this? Or, you have an attitude. It just backfires. Everything goes up and down and inside out. You've got to learn how to honor each other, respect each other, value each other as two parts to a whole called a couple.
Yep.
There's no people running the show. You're doing it together. You're partners.
Oh,
This
my
stuff,
gosh.
it's different than what the world's doing right now.
I know, right? Oh, my gosh, it is. And by the way, we also talk about, hey, let's do this before we get married. Let's talk to you beforehand, right? There's nothing wrong in that.
Yeah, again, the culture is really making big mistakes. They want to hop in the sack after a week or a month. That's not the way to go. You need to know somebody, spend a lot of time, spend time with their families, with their friends, doing activities, talk. Really make sure that you are comfortable and you feel compatible and understood and comfortable with this person before you even start kissing them. I mean, you got to take your time, slow down.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
It's a big decision you're making,
It is. And we want to make sure it's have a solid foundation beforehand. So let's also discuss some of the big mistakes that couples make, unfortunately, that lead to some problems and eventually divorce. What are some of these mistakes?
Well, the biggest mistake, trying to get specific about some of the generalities I shared here a bit ago, is, you're not doing the things that makes your partner feel like they are absolutely the most important person in your activity in the world to you.
Yeah.
They learn that by your behavior, especially if they're a woman. You can say whatever you want to say, but actions speak louder than words. And that's a phrase that came out of a woman's mouth. I'm quite sure of that.
Actions do.
They want to see the
louder.
behavior. They want to see evidence of how important they are and how much you love them and how concerned you are about how they feel and what they need and so forth.
I love it.
On the other hand, men just kind of attitude, well, it's a thought that counts. If I decide not to love you anymore, I'll let you know. That doesn't fly.
Yeah.
So you really have to be doing the things that work and not doing the things that screw everything up.
Clearly, the ones
And
that
there's
don't
lots
work.
of books on this subject. Lots of books. And there's a lot of help available.
Great.
But if you're going to get help, don't get a generalist therapist that says he's doing marriage therapy because they're not trained in it. 75% of the people that say they do marriage therapy are not specialists. Only about 10 or 15% have specialized in it and have done it throughout their career. That makes a difference too.
Great.
If you're going to read books that are written by credible therapists, people that have, especially the ones that have done research. Susan Johnson work, the John Gottman work, the John Gray work. Those kinds of things are really going to help you.
All right. Well, what would you say some cultural changes have been happening over the past 25 years? And what are they that are making things harder for marriages to remain strong and healthy?
Well, one of the things that people are moving. You used to stay in the same community. You'd have 3 or 4 or 5 generations in a relatively small town. That makes a big difference. People actually have funerals in those kind of situations because there's a group of people who've known them since they were a pup and they care about them and they want to come and honor them when they die. But people don't realize that funerals are rare now in America. The majority of people that die in America do not have funerals anymore because they're in some big city. Few people at work know them. They're lonely. There's changes, big changes that are happening that disconnect us because the biggest thing we need as human beings is to feel safe and secure and connected to somebody or some group of people. And when you don't belong to a social network of people that are similar to you and understand you and love you, you're missing a lot of what needs to be there for you to be healthy and happy. So the culture is spreading us out, it's working us to death, it's televising us to death, moving us to death. Everything's coming in and choking out the most important things in your life. And that is talking and listening and loving and sharing and doing with people that you love.
Thank you for sharing that. What would you say some of the major challenges facing couples who are trying to raise healthy, happy children?
Well, there are a lot of challenges. One, the kids are being bombarded by the media, and there's all kinds of corruption that parents don't even know the kids are looking at. Because once some kid at school finds pornography, he tells all his friends about it. Some kid finds something really exciting on TikTok or whatever. Pretty soon they're all watching this stuff. The parents don't have the foggiest idea half the time of what the kids are thinking or doing. And when you get, especially junior high and high school level, the tribe is more important than the family. People don't realize that. They're at school with kids that believe whatever they believe most of the day. They see their parents at night when they're tired and everybody's irritable and don't have much time. It's very scary. I would say to couples that are serious about raising healthy children, you make sure you have some really healthy couple friends that have children similar age to yours, that have values similar to yours. And so from the time they're little guys, they play together. And when they play at somebody's house you know personally and you trust. When those little guys grow up and start going to junior high and high school, they're going to be best friends. They will make their own tribe. All you need is just one person that shares your values to break conformity pressure. If you're there by yourself and you're the only one that you thinks or believes or acts the way you do, pretty soon you're changing because you want to fit in. And so it's very important that you establish roots for your kids, friends that are healthy, families that are healthy. And again, I'm a Christian. I think a church is a very good place to find those kind of people, where you see them on a regular basis. You know these people well. You have home groups, you have potlucks, the kids get in youth group, all that kind of stuff helps to give them the kind of background they need to stand up to the culture that in many ways is becoming perverted and unhealthy.
Thank you for that. And what about, would you say what changes in the nuclear family have made it harder for young adults to have healthy marriages? Is that true?
Well, yeah, it really is. The nuclear family is kind of becoming kind of unusual in a way. I mean, most families now have third or fourth marriage and second or third anyway. I've seen people who've had 5 marriages, the kids are just sprung out. A lot of the kids are scared to get married because they don't want to get divorced. So I think the answer is to live together. Living together, the research shows, is a bad habit. It actually leads to more divorce than not living together. So, you really have to understand what a commitment is. Living together is not a commitment. That's an experiment. And when you live together with somebody 2 or 3 years and the back door is always open, the tendency is to have the back door open even when you're married because you're insecure.
Got it.
You need to understand how to be secure in yourself and in a relationship. And when you make a commitment, you make a commitment. And you know how to keep your promises.
Yep.
That's not popular these days.
Nope. People always run. They try to do the easiest thing.
First thing to do is get out of there. That's right.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. And also, let's talk about some changes that have occurred in our culture over the past 25 years in our values and morals. I feel like that's affecting a lot of young couples who want strong marriages these days.
Well, the thing that happens when you live a few years, like I have, is you see how things change.
Yeah.
What was good is now bad in some ways by the culture. It's kind of square, or it's old, or it's, they make jokes about the 50s and 60s and some of the TV programs. I'm here to tell you that those people in those TV programs in the 50s and 60s were reflecting what life was like in the typical families in those days. You look at it from our perspective, oh man, that was weird. No, it wasn't. It wasn't weird at all. That was what a healthy family did. They sat at the table and they talked and they did, But
no TV, no phones, nope.
Man, I mean, there's so many things that have changed. I mean, it's just radical changes. What was true is false. What was good is bad. It's inside out and upside down.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get your bearings when you live in a place like that because everything is relative. See, that's the thing about our Judeo-Christian values in our country. They were pretty well agreed upon. Mm-hmm. This is what we believe. This is what's right. This is what's wrong. Now, when you come in and start trying to uproot the cultural roots of of the country, which has been going on,
Yeah.
then you lose. And then everybody's deciding what's true and what's false. Everybody's trying to decide what's right or what's wrong. It doesn't work very well.
Yeah, for sure. And let's talk about some relational needs. What are they that are frequently not met with our current culture?
Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but
Yes, I know.
the biggest thing people need is to feel connected with other people, especially special people like mom and dad or wife or parents. They need to know they are understood, they are loved, they are accepted. The nice thing about the Judeo-Christian values that we have is the idea that God loves you, regardless of what you've done. Jesus died on the cross for everybody. It's your issue whether you want to accept him and live with a relationship with the God that created you.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do what you want to do, you can do that.
Wow.
But at least the values are mercy, grace, love, trust, commitment. These kinds of things have been part of what made us special as Americans. And we need to get it back. Now, you call it what you want, but we need to have some kind of agreed upon values. Otherwise, everybody just does whatever they want. And if you don't agree, then you're wrong. That's it.
Well, also, what about, would you say, happens when, how do we say, a young couple moves away from their family and friends to maybe find another job in a different state, or, which spouse is most likely to have the most difficulty adjusting and why?
Well, I found that first of all, uprooting from your family and friends and all is a difficult thing for everybody. But it's especially difficult for wives because they tend to be closer to their mom, closer to their family and their sisters. And it's a bigger deal to go on some adventure with their husband to some faraway place where it may not have what they're used to. They're not used to the town size. They're not used to not having a church that they went to when they were kids or part of. Or, they go somewhere where everything's new and they don't know anybody. Now, the guy goes to work. Of course, the wives go to work as well a lot of times. And you have some acquaintances at work, but you've got to get plugged in somehow to a network of people that become family. That's where churches is such a value, because you meet with these people every week or more than once a week, and you know them and they become your church family. Sometimes you're closer to the family at church than you are at home because your family is in Texas and you're in Montana. And so you got to find some place to have security and connection. The ones that miss it the most are the women, and the men are the most adventuresome. Let's go to Alaska. Let's go here. Let's go there. And I'm a man, so I can relate to that. But you got to understand, a woman needs security. That home is part of her. Leaving a home is a hard thing for a woman to do. Starting all over is a hard thing to do. So the more understanding you are as a man, you may be able to save a lot of problems that just come from expecting too much change for your wife. Putting her in a situation where you're gone at work all day and she's home with little kids by herself in some place she doesn't know anybody. That is hard, really hard and dangerous.
Absolutely. And what about, would you say, maybe some steps that a young couple who, do have to move right into a new community away from their friends and relatives, what steps should they really take to make sure they have a solid foundation?
Well, I understand that, you got to make a living. And some towns where you grow up are really small and they don't have the opportunities. And there are a lot of reasons to go somewhere else. But you want to really take the changes seriously. You need to be thinking about a place that you go that has the things that both of you need. Now, maybe one of you wants to be in the outdoors and have more outdoor activities and be in a smaller town. Maybe the other one came from a larger city where there are all kinds of shopping opportunities and educational opportunities with work and whatever. You can't go from A to Z and not expect some problems because it's hard to make those adjustments. So if you're going to leave home and get a job somewhere, you want to think about what are the things that are at that new place that work for both of us. What about social connections? What about churches? What about schools? What about the kind of schools you want? What about values? Do you have any relatives there? Maybe you're leaving your mom and dad, but maybe there's uncle and aunt or some other people that you know. You want to look for connections that'll help you when you go to this new place, rather than just go to a totally new place that, especially if you're going to a new place where the guy knows somebody, or maybe that's going back to his home, but she doesn't know anybody. That's hard for a woman, really hard. You want to go there because you hunted and fished with your dad when you were a kid. Then you went to college in a big city and married the girl in the big city. Now you want to go back to your roots. Think about what that's like for her. You can do it, and it may be something she'll like, but you've got to think about it and talk about it and make sure you've done everything possible to make the adjustment easy.
Thank you for sharing that. What would you say the greatest need that any married couple has in their marriage, and why?
Well, the greatest need is they need to respect each other. They need to honor their differences, appreciate their differences, value their differences, know that each of their differences add to the couple, the whole. We want this to be greater than each of one of us. We want this to be something that has all these things that we both bring in here. And then you've got to know how to talk to each other and listen to each other and be respectful and assume the best about each other always. So if something's happening, or the way they look when they talk, or the words they use sound insulting or offensive, you need to understand that you may be misunderstanding. You always assume the best and ask for clarification before you get triggered and react. And they react back, and you're off to the races with what we call the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. If you honor each other, you spend sufficient time with each other, you affirm your love for each other on a daily basis, you're constantly complimenting each other, thanking each other. If you get short or do something wrong, you're apologizing. You're respecting the relationship and the person. That's what it takes.
Okay. Well, also, let's, we still have just 4 minutes left on the show. You want to keep your patients, your clients together. What advice, with all your experience, give us some advice to get through the day, waking up, and to keeping it fresh and to keep couples together. What should we be doing? Give us some advice today, Jim.
Okay. If you're having serious problems and you're really thinking about divorce, you need to call a therapist that can help you, somebody that's research-based.
You there, Jim? Hello? I don't hear you, Jim.
I'm still talking.
Hello? There you go. Gotcha. Go ahead.
Okay. I guess we lost connection there for a minute. If you're having really serious marital issues and you're afraid you're going to get divorced, maybe you've had an affair, something serious has happened, you need to find a therapist that you can relate to, that you feel comfortable with, that is research trained, and not just somebody out there wants to listen to you. But aside from that, you need to take more time to get alone and just spend a weekend talking about your future, talking about how do we like what we like and what don't we like and what do we like, and make some decisions together about how we can change the way we do things. Maybe agree to read a book together. Maybe read the Gottman research together. Read Susan Johnson's book, Created for Connection, or Hold Me Tight. But get going on really seriously evaluating your relationship and talking about what can we do to make it better, and what do we want to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What's retirement going to look like? You got to start really talking about us and listening to each other and getting around people that are well married themselves. Find some people that have happy marriages. Be friends of theirs where you get the good influence helping you.
And waking up and telling each other that we love each other every day.
Yeah, you say that before you go to bed. You say that about 10 times during the day, too. That's what you naturally say because that's what you feel. You're lucky to be married to them.
Mm-hmm. All right, good.
You appreciate that.
Well, we are thankful that you're here and always so willing to help so many people. And I urge people to start talking to you, talking to someone. And it's important to reach out. How can we contact you, Jim?
Well, I've said this a few times, but, phones are very simple. Just pick it up and make a phone call. My phone number is 406-370-3515. And I do teleconferencing. You could be anywhere in the United States or in the world. As far as I'm concerned, we can talk. And we can do a lot of work on Zoom. If you want to work with me personally, we can set up a private intensive weekend where we get together and talk. But I don't do that until we've done everything we can on Zoom.
Beautiful.
So you're ready to really get the job done.
We are ready.
I don't want to mess with you. I want to fix what's the problem. I want to get you there.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us. As always, we appreciate your advice and your dedication and commitment to keeping couples together. And reach out to, again, Aletheia Marriage Counseling, and hopefully you will grow old together. You got to work on it, though, all right? It doesn't just come naturally. Research-based counseling. Schedule your consultation, 406-251-7073. Thank you again, Jim Ramsey.
Thank you, Jill.
Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.